Hello there, welcome to the Chat Lounge. My name is Belinda Ashley, and today I'm having one of the most incredible guests here in our particular site, and she goes by the name Marion Kagai. She is a lawyer and a very well-renowned young lawyer. So I want her to introduce herself properly so that she can tell us more information about who she really is and what else she does. Then we can dive into the questions of the day
Okay.
and have at least a little chit chat with you.
All right. So my name is Norah, Marion Kagia. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I practice as such in Nairobi County. Yes.
Interesting.
Really?
Kabisa. So you're known to be a very young babe who is in this industry of law. How is it like?
Oh, it's not easy. It's not as fancy as people see it on media, really. Well, it comes with a few perks here and there, but it really is a career like any other, and it's a very interesting one if you're passionate about it. So yeah, I enjoy my career. I could say that.
You cannot tell us that it's not a fancy career. You know how many movies we watch here outside here and we're like, hey, being law sounds like a fancy
Flamboyance,
thing.
yeah.
So how did you start this interest in law? How did it
Okay.
come about?
Okay, so my interest in law came by chance. It was actually parental guided. Let me shock you. So law was my mom's first choice for me.
Why?
I wanted something else. I wanted to be a pilot, but my mom really wanted me to be an advocate. And I looked at my grades, I looked at my interests in debate in school, I looked at what I was passionate about, that was human rights, and I figured this is something I could do. And I of course, I started looking at the schools that offer law, and I came across a few, and I selected one, and luckily I qualified to join that one that I wanted. So yeah, that's how I landed in law school.
Into law school.
Yeah.
Why did you want to be a lawyer? I mean, Nini, a pilot. What is it about being a pilot? Eh?
I was motivated by my cousins. I know, right? One of my cousins was an air hostess at, is it British Airways or Qatar? I think it's Qatar Airways. And my other cousin works as an aeronautical engineer at Kenya Air Force. So I used to look at them and I considered what they did as fancy and, you know, the flamboyance. That's why I got the flamboyance. You know how air hostesses are usually very flamboyant. They have very nice attires. And they are,
It's the classiness.
yeah, I wanted that for myself. But when I couldn't see it, or rather when I realized I also had an interest in human rights, I figured I could combine these two. I could combine my interest in, you know, the outlook plus my interest in human rights to what I figured was good for me, which is law.
Oh, interesting.
learned,
So give us a brief background of your career journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we start from when I joined law school or we start from when I got admitted to the bar?
You can give us from law school because I know there's someone who has just joined and they would like to know how did this lady get to be at this particular space and how is she going on and how is she coping up with everything that comes with being a lawyer at a young age.
Okay. So when I joined law school at 18. When I joined law school, I was 18 years old, and I was very passionate about human rights, as I said. So all my interest was channeled towards human rights. Whenever there was a human rights moot court competition, I would express interest, and sometimes I would qualify to join a team. Whenever there was a debate, so long as it's human rights, I was there.
You're in for it.
Yes. So a particular council in Nakuru, the school I went to is in Nakuru. So a particular council in Nakuru spotted me in one of those moot court competitions, and she offered me an internship opportunity in her farm. When I was doing long holidays, when we were going for long holidays, I would go to her farm briefly, work there briefly.
You started being
we're
a
still
working
friends
babe.
till now. Yeah. You don't break those bridges. You don't burn them, rather.
Yeah.
So yeah, I interned in her farm for a while. Then it came to a point that I had to come to Nairobi because Kenya School of Law was only offering its services here. So I came to Nairobi, did Kenya School of Law. After Kenya School of Law, that's when I was headhunted by the now, what do we call, former presidential candidate, but now the chairman of Roots Party of Kenya. His name is Professor George Ojakoya. So Prof offered me an opportunity in his firm. I interned there for a while I was doing Kenya School of Law. So this is it. Kenya School of Law offers classes in twofold. So you could be a student in the morning or in the afternoon class. Or here right now they also have evening classes. So it chanced that my classes were in the afternoon. So Prof offered me an opportunity to intern at his farm. So I worked at his farm while I was doing KSL. So I used to go to work in the morning, in the afternoon I do classes. Luckily, we also had virtual classes, so I could juggle between class and work. Yeah, and that's how I also.
Because I was to ask you, how did you balance?
Wow, it was it was not easy. You know, Kenya School of Law comes with a lot of pressure, and you know, pressure is also from books, and pressure is also from outside, and there's also that pressure to make yourself succeed. So it's also from inward. So it was not easy, but I could say what worked for me was the group works in Kenya School of Law. You form groups amongst your friends, and so you opt for a convenient time for you to discuss. So ours was morning hours, so I used to wake up early. We discuss in the morning, then I go to work. After work, I know, right? It was in hindsight. Honestly, I don't know where I got that energy from, but it's good to know that I managed to do that. So yeah, discussions in the morning, then go to class in the
afternoon.
In the afternoon, I work mid-morning.
Hey.
Then I go back to work briefly. Then I go home. Then I wake up in the morning. The same cycle. Because when you're in Kenya School of Law, you can't afford to stop reading. That's a problem.
And at the same time, you have work to focus on.
Yes.
My goodness.
And you also can't abandon work because that's where you're getting your upkeep from. Yes. So one suffers, your whole system is
so you have
flawed.
to be, they call what? These guys who get to balance everything in life.
You have to be that person.
Eish.
You have to be that person. If one system is flawed, you can't work. Because if you fail to work, you don't have upkeep for that month. You don't go to class in Kenya School of Law, you fail. That means you have to pay for another unit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So one thing we know about law is that it is specialized in different, I mean, it's categorized into different areas.
Yeah.
So what is your specialization, and why did you actually just go into that specific specialization?
Okay, so my interest in law, as I said, I had interest in aviation from a very young age. So my interest brewed to what I would now call my specialization. So I specialized in aviation law. Yes.
There is aviation law anyway.
Yes.
This is new for me.
There is aviation law. So yeah, so what we do, okay, in brief, what I could say about aviation law, it's not really grounded as aviation law in Kenya right now, because what really happens what would consist part of aviation law is what we call now employment briefs, what we call public procurement, what we call, it's merged into many other areas of law. So what is a brief in aviation law has another name in normal law. So it's not really crafted as an area in law, but that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to, making that area of law known and making it apart, setting it apart from all other areas of law. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think about these people who have decided to go into this direction of being a divorce lawyer, being a children's rights lawyer? Yeah. And why didn't you go apparently in those particular areas? Okay, leave alone the fact that you're interested in aviation.
Okay, for you to go into, that's family law, right?
Because I feel like that's a bit of an interesting area.
It is. It is. But now, let me give you, I should probably hold your hand as I tell you this. This area of law has been kind of given a name. I don't know if let me not use that name. But this area of law is considered feminine in my fields.
Oh.
I know, right? Which is quite unfair. But well, it is also an area of law that people practice in. There are also men who practice in this area. But more often than not, when you go to a law firm, you'll find the associate in charge of the family law department is a female.
Yeah.
You go to our courts and it's a divorce matter, and you find more often than not it's a female advocate versus another female advocate. If it's a children's custody and maintenance case, the same case, it's feminine. So I feel like this area of law is good. It's actually, it's lucrative, yes, but it's also, it goes to the core of our society, which is family. So I think it would be good if people would treat it with more,
Seriousness.
seriousness is there also, but it's a unique area of law because you see there are children involved.
Yeah.
And these children are in contact with the law, which is a fresh concept to them. They do not know what they see. Mommy here today and daddy in the house. Tomorrow their mommy is not there, daddy is not there. They start exchanging shifts. I feel like we could give it a little bit more emphasis so that even our male counterparts, when they practice this area of law, let it not be with some masculinity. Let us treat it as a peculiar area of law that it is.
Which takes me to these two questions. One, how do you balance being a woman in this career space, because it's known to be a bit masculine? Secondly, we all know one thing they say is that as a lawyer you need to be a bit aggressive. So how do you balance it? Because what I can see, you're a bit soft.
I am.
So that's something new to anyone. I'm so sure everyone is like, this girl is too soft for this particular area.
So masculinity is going to be there for as long as law remains as flamboyant and as posh as people believe it is. Trust me, the masculinity is going to be there. And you have to be aggressive as a lawyer, but aggression is really a very small percentage of what law entails. So for you to be considered a smart lawyer, you have to be book smart, you have to be street smart, you have to know that all the technicalities involved. And you see, aggression comes at the very last bit, because I could know that, I could know my file, I know my facts, I know the law, I know all the loopholes in this file. So I do not need to be shouting in court for
To
you
be
know, for the
noticed.
judge to rule in my favor. I just need to point to point the court's direction into what I want the court to look into. More often than not, you will find that these people who are not as aggressive as our aggressive counterparts are usually take the deal.
Okay, interesting. What are some of the common legal misconceptions you encounter among the general public?
Oh. Wow. Except for the aggression, the other misconception I think I have come across a good number of times is that you cannot, as a young lawyer, there are some cases you can't handle. I don't think that is true.
But they have, because that's the area I was going to. That's the reason why I asked you, how do you balance in being a female in this area? Because I believe this is what the kind of misconception most of us have, that there's a way you cannot be allowed to handle certain cases because you're still a girl. And
No, I don't think. Well, it happens. Does it happen? Yes, it happens. But is it right? No, it's not. Because you see, the same system that our seniors went through is the same system that we go through. So nothing much has changed, except for the fact that lawmakers keep on making laws every now and then, and we, by virtue of going through that training, you also understand how this training is done. You also understand how these laws are made. So what my senior can do, I believe I can do it as well.
better.
It's only that I need more. I might take longer to do it because they have the benefit of experience, but there's nothing extraordinary that my senior would do that I think I cannot do.
Yeah. Now let me take it back to the real situation at hand. If I have a case, and I bring it to you, and you're the one who is supposed to be representing me, what are some of the things that okay, if I find myself in a legal situation, what are the first things that I need to do in order for me to go about these things? What do you do at first? And what should I do as well for us to go about this situation?
So if it's a criminal case scenario, then that starts with arrest.
Yeah.
So if you've been arrested, then you have a right to contact your family or an advocate. So at that point, you could opt to contact your advocate. But sometimes that's not the case. So you find someone who's been arrested, but they don't have counsel at the onset. So it's advisable that you don't say anything that might incriminate you at that stage. So you're taken to court, you take plea, then you can opt to take a counsel after you've taken plea or before. But it's advisable that you take counsel as early as possible, so that you avoid putting yourself in jeopardy before you are able to salvage the situation. Actually, most of the cases that usually land in court would not have landed in court in the first instance if you contacted counsel at the onset. Because sometimes you're taken to court on a charge, say, of obtaining money by false pretenses, and then the court looks at the charge sheet, and there's some contractual aspects in that charge sheet. So that usually is referred to a civil court. So you see, it was not supposed to be criminal in the first instance, but you've slept in a cell that night, and you see, you basically you've suffered for a criminal, for something that's non-criminal. Yeah. So it's advisable that you call counsel the moment you are arrested. If it's a civil suit, right from the time you feel aggrieved by something, say your neighbor is playing loud music and it's aggrieving you, it's advisable, and it's continuous. So it's advisable that you call counsel immediately, look for a legal opinion. I'm saying this because there are times you find some, like in an accident scenario, someone was hit by a car last year, and they've been in hospital, they've now healed, then they want to come to you 4 or 5 years later. There's something called statute of limitations. In America, in Kenya, we call it the Limitation of Action Act. So the Limitation of Action Act provides for a duration where after you may not be able to recover the damages you suffered at the time, right? So you have to be very vigilant. The moment you feel aggrieved by something, call counsel. Yes.
Interesting. Have you ever handled a high-profile case?
High profile as in political or high profile criminal?
I would say either political or someone in the public, in any space.
Yeah.
And how was it?
Well, at first you feel inadequate, but after a while you kind of psych yourself up. You tell yourself, you after some research, now you feel confident. Then you, of course, consult a few people here and there. Then now you're good to go.
Their reaction by it towards you?
Sometimes reception is usually a bit, you're too young, that
Can
one
you
is
handle
always
this
there.
case?
Yeah, are you sure you can do this? The reception is sometimes may vary. There are people who are like, okay, you're young, I know you're young, but I need this to be done, and I need it to be done very well. And they trust you with their matter, and you deliver.
So how do you deal with doubts? Or imposter syndrome? Let me
Okay.
just use imposter syndrome.
Yeah, let's use imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is always there. I think it's there for everyone, but you kind of psych yourself up. You consider the training you went through. You also consider the research you've done about a matter, and you give yourself confidence, because it will always be there. You just try to pack it at the back somewhere, but yeah, I don't think there's an alternative way of dealing with that. You just have to be confident. You can't run
from these things.
If you run away, then what happens tomorrow? You'll run away from another thing tomorrow.
Talking about running away, there's this idea people have when it comes to media. Most people do not want to be associated with them. How do you handle media?
Oh, media. That's a very interesting question. Because, media can actually make you, it can break you.
Yeah.
So we usually tread carefully. We tread very, very carefully with media. Sometimes you may not have control over what goes to the media, but the little information that you have control over that goes to the media, then you take full advantage of it. So there are instances where the court may actually protect you from the media. There are instances where we've seen people go to court and the media is there and the court has told them, no, you see, this
You
is a
cannot
public
film
interest.
this.
Yes, so you can't film it.
But it's such an annoying thing because at times we find that story very interesting and then we're told, Apana, you cannot go forward with this.
Yeah.
Or if you guys are having your own meeting, there are those ones zenye tunakatazwa.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, that happens. There are times maybe a party says they don't want their information to go into the media. So maybe the matter is probably very sensitive. Maybe the matter involves children, or the matter involves people who are or organs of security in the country. You know, so those kind of matters the court may say we do not encourage media to be in, but by and large we tread very carefully with media. Yeah.
To be very careful, to be on the safe side
To
most
be on the
times,
safe side, yes.
despite the publicity.
Yes.
Talking about that, right now we have something called the AI, which is coming up, and also the social media evolvement. How do you guys evolve into that? And can you talk about even the future of law, the practice of being a lawyer when in relation to AI and also the social media?
So nowadays we actually have virtual courts. So you don't have to, more often than not, you don't have to be in court physically unless it's a criminal court. You can just attend court virtually. So it could be here.
But do they trust that? Because anytime, okay, like right now, if I'm your friend, would you trust me if I speak to you virtually? Would you?
Well, this is powered by the judiciary of Kenya, so we have to trust it.
Okay.
Because you see, I could be having 3-4 matters in a day. One matter is in Thika, the other it's in say Kiambu, the other one is in Machakos, and say one more in Nairobi, and say my office is in Nairobi. So if the court has told me this system is safe, we actually trust our judicial officers to be transparent with this system, and we trust our court assistants to enable us make the system as efficient as it can. So why not? So we have actually welcomed it. Nowadays we don't even leave our offices more often to go to court. Yeah,
You just do it virtually.
We trust AI and tech. Yeah.
One thing you've not answered is there's a part where everyone, the information that's in the public, AI is taking over so many jobs. And this sector law, no one is talking about. But then I would like you to share with us because you're already practicing it. So do you think it's something that it's going to take over, or can it have an interference with the law practice?
I don't think AI will interfere with practice in any way. Because AI, for one, will not address courts. Yeah, I mean, for you to address court, for myself to have audience before court, I had to go to school for 6 years. AI is how old now? Is it months? So definitely it can't address
It's 2 years
court.
now.
It cannot address courts. Two, say it may try to draft documents. But you see, our format of drafting documents is also courts regulated. I could be drafting a document and filing it in court, and the court will strike it out on a very small issue because it is not properly drafted. So
you use it to
we're not
enhance
scared.
it on your end.
Yes.
Okay.
So it could just help me get the wordings, but it can't help me draft
Fix so
it.
many things.
Yes, it cannot fix much. It will just give you the words to use, which you can also get on Google anyway.
Interesting. What do you think? What do you believe is the most important aspect of the attorney-client relationship?
I would say fees, but
Hey, and it's the money first.
the
That
most
is the only
important-
thing first you focus
the
on.
most important aspect is confidentiality. Yes. So for me to take up your matter, I have to make the environment very safe for you to feel safe to tell me your entire truth, especially in a criminal matter. I need you to tell me everything. I do not want to get surprises in court because it will. If you're telling me, say it's robbery, violence, and there's a gun involved, and you're telling me the instrument used was a stick, and it's a gun, you see that gun will be brought to court. So I want you to be very honest with me. I want you to tell me, yes, I was found with a gun, and it's this make of a gun, so that in case I go to court and they present another gun that's not that gun, I can contest because that's what the gun you are found with. You get. So confidentiality, I feel like confidentiality is the most important aspect of advocate-client relationship.
You've just talked about confidentiality. How do you feel about someone confiding into you certain things that could scare you? Like imagine someone admitting, I did this crime, like I actually murdered someone.
Well, at first it's usually scary.
How do
But
you
you
handle
can't show
such
it.
cases, by the way?
You just take it up. Well, it depends. You see, there is cab rank rule, and cab rank rule tells you can't turn a client away. Of course, there are exceptions, but the main rule is that you can't turn a client away. So if this client comes to you and tells you, in the middle of your conversation, they actually confide in you that they actually murdered this person. So you could decide to now. Of course, this client is you're still innocent until you're proven guilty. So you could decide to try and look for loopholes that were not found in the middle of
this
the
person.
investigation. Or you could decide to now tell of importance is you tell the client, this offense carries this much as a punishment. So if it's years, you tell them it carries this much as years. If it's a fine, you tell them it carries this much as maximum fine, so that they get prepared.
Yeah.
But now you can't, of course, you can't agree to lose in the fight. You have to do your research, look for loopholes, and try to get a win. Good case scenario, you get a win. Bad case scenario, your client is actually found guilty.
So, from my end, not to be judgy, I feel like to most lawyers, I feel like the notion that will be spread to you guys is that heaven is a rumor for you guys. Eh?
No.
Eh?
No, but what would you say about judges then? Because they actually pass judges.
Let's not go there. How do you ensure that your client understands the legal process and feels supported throughout the case?
So
let's talk about if the person is a first timer.
Okay. So the first time we meet, I have to inform you of the whole process, how it goes. So I tell you, if it's a criminal case, I'll tell you, you'll take plea. That's if you've not taken plea. Or if you've taken plea, I'll tell you what happened that day was plea taking. Then I'll tell you there is a pretrial conference. So on that date, we go take any documents the prosecution intends to rely on. If there are any exhibits, if there are any witness statements, collect those ones. Then I will prepare for a hearing date. We get a hearing date, we go, the prosecution presents their witnesses, they testify, we cross-examine them. Then defense hearing comes, you're put on your defense. If you're found to have a case to answer, you defend yourself, then we get to judgment. That's a criminal route. The civil route is pretty much the same, because now here they are plaintiff or claimants with the respondent or defendant. Right? So it's pretty much the same. The plaintiff or claimant will start their case, they close their case, then the defense gets their day in court, they present their evidence, then now the court will have a chance to look into both sides and give a judgment. It's usually a sit down, we explain to you all the process.
Everything.
So, and every time I leave court, I have to update my client. I went to court and this is what happened. This is the next step that's coming up. Yes.
Very interesting. Now at least I can be ready, or anyone else can be ready for this situation. Because most of us tend to feel like it's a bit intense. And how do you go about this?
It can be intense.
Anyway, the other question is, what do you think are the most pressing legal issues facing the society today?
In terms of human rights or generally?
Generally.
Generally, I think it's politics. And I actually appreciate that now people are more interested in public participation affairs.
We've seen it from Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Or is it because of the finance bill?
I think finance bill really opened people's eyes. So what I'd say is really at stake now is political interference in, rather the aspect of politics marrying with your day-to-day life, because politics actually affect your normal life.
Yeah, it's actually the foundation of an economy.
It is. It is.
How about when it comes to cybersecurity? Because you know this is now an area that is getting more intense because technology is also advancing. Social media is also something else. Yeah.
Well, cybersecurity, yeah, it also is an issue, and I can't downplay it because yeah, we are moving towards now being a more AI and being a tech savvy generation. So I can't downplay the input of technology and cybersecurity. But it is also covered in law. So in the event you feel harassed by someone online, there are channels of reporting, and you can actually get redress. So yeah, it's also an area that people would look into.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. What is the one thing you would like to tell anyone that is starting up, or someone who has just joined a
Law
law
school.
school? Yeah.
The journey is long, but do not fret. Do not feel alone, because there's that tendency of feeling alone when you're in law school, and everyone else might appear to be, moving forward, and you might feel like you're just being alone. Do not feel alone. Everyone else is feeling how you're feeling. It's only that they're not talking about it. Trust me, you might be in a class of, say, 50, 60, and everyone else appears to be having it all together.
Figured out.
Yeah. You go to a class and everyone is talking about how their cousin, their aunt, their brother, their sister is an advocate.
So it's easier for them
To get probably an
maneuver.
opportunity. Imagine the real opportunity is out there, and you do not have to go into practice anyway. If their sister or their brother is an advocate, and so they have an upper hand over you in litigation,
Yeah.
you could also have an upper hand in NGOs or international organizations or
So it's quite broad.
politics. Yes, you do not have to limit yourself to one area.
Lastly, any advice you would give a person who is into this field? Just one advice or two advices?
Okay, my advice would be, I don't know if I'm fit to advise people because I am not the authority.
Already you've started practicing this.
Well, what I'd say is just have sight of your goal, because if have sight of your goal in this sense, if you're that kind of person that wants to be a litigator or a litigation associate somewhere, then start looking in that direction. If you're interested in NGOs, then start looking in that direction. Do not accept to be put in a box. That's what I could tell someone in this field.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting. I really enjoyed this particular
Me too.
show.
I have had
I hope
fun.
we're going to have another time again and get to engage and share more information. Of course, our audience are going to share with us some of their opinions and also thoughts on this particular show. And I'm going to call you again.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'd be back, definitely.
Anyway, thank you, everyone. This has been the Chat Lounge. My name is Belinda Ashley. Till next time.